Thank you, Abby. All right, a top Democrat is calling for Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi to step aside.
I do think it's time to pass the torch to a new generation of leaders, and I want to be a part of that transition. I want to see that happen.
So should Pelosi and Schumer take a back seat and let new voices take the wheel? Here to debate are former Trump campaign spokesperson and America First Action spokesperson Katrina Pierson and Democratic strategist Atima Omara. All right, so is it time for new blood in the Democratic Party? Katrina?
Well, you know what, Dean, I have to say, sure. I mean, why not? This is what happens when you're stuck in a party that does nothing but play politics of gender and every other separation. But it is undeniable that in a post-Obama era party that the Democrats are struggling to find their voice. You had someone who was relatively unknown come in and beat the Clinton establishment. And then they ran that same establishment who lost again to someone else who was particularly outside of politics. So, sure, they should absolutely be looking at new leadership.
Well, Tima, I bet you're going to disagree with that. What's your take on this? New blood?
Well, I would be remiss as a former president of the Young Democrats of America and say that I think it's always a good thing to have new blood and getting more young people elected on our side of the aisle or just in general. But I think that Chuck and Nancy, as Trump affectionately refers to them as, have actually been able to get more done in working with Trump when it came to the debt ceiling and even just in having some discussions on budget and actually holding the party line on health care in the last 9 months, and the Republicans having been in power this entire time.
Interesting. You know, people want to see something happen. Is it okay that he's reaching across the aisle to those leaders?
You know, I think so. I do think that the ratings of Congress are low for a good reason, and that is because they would like to see more bipartisan action. Yeah, and that's something that definitely I think was in the best interest of the American people.
Well, I would actually like them to stay, Dean. You know, I'm not one of those people calling for new leadership. I mean, President Trump is doing a great job at reaching across the aisle when necessary. I mean, he is taking on both sides of the establishment here, beat them both in November. But at the same time, of course, I'd love to see them stay in place because these are the leaders that led the Democrat Party to where they are now, extremely divisive and dismissive of half the population. And with midterms coming up, we need those voices out there again to show which party is actually moving towards the future.
All right. Well, thank you both.